Hey, you're wide receiver Khalil Shakir, right?
I sure am, kid. Here, go long.
Whoa! You're pretty good at football, man.
And you guys are pretty good at pizza.
Oh, sick. Dude.
Alrighty, folks. It is November 17th. It is no ordinary game day. It is Bills, Chiefs. It is the one that all Bills fans have had circled on their calendars since late April, early May when the schedule came out. But let's get into it. We got a crew in, and we might have some other guests we're hopping in along the way. We got TDL, Thomas DeLaus, Charge of Buffalo Sports Podcast, hopping in with us. And we got one man who's no stranger to cooking up some goodness, Justin T. Dad Chef. Tree already up. I got to say, you're way ahead of me.
Yeah. Well, you met my wife, man. As soon as Halloween was over, the entire house was Christmas decorations now.
Shout out Allie. Shout out Dad Chef Life, of course. But with that said, Bills have been cooking lately. 5-0 in their last 5. Obviously, if you're not looking to cook today, make sure your orders are in at Picasso's Pizza all over Western New York. But with that said, we'll get – and we got our last one, Brandon. I was nervous he dropped out. I was nervous he saw the show intro, and he's like, I am too good for this shit. But he's back, and he's with us. We got AJ Cebulski. Welcome back, sir. But let's get right into it. On a scale of 1 to 10, because I've seen this all week, so I'm not going to get into the same question and the same thing I've been arguing. Like, does this game matter? Of course it matters. It's an opportunity to go 1-0. It's an opportunity to beat a 2-time defending Super Bowl champion. On a scale of 1 to 10, though, where does this game move your could win the Super Bowl barometer? I'm just going to lead off real quick, and then we'll go around Tom, Dad, and then we'll go to AJ. You know, right now I'm at about a 3 or a 4. I think they could win it, but I don't strongly believe it. I wouldn't argue with anyone that they're the Super Bowl favorite or anything in that regard. I think today is an opportunity to double that. So I think we could move up into the 6 to 7 range, and I think that's an exciting opportunity. I think that gets you a lot of momentum. And the most important thing in sports, boys, is confidence, and that's something that it would give us against the Chiefs team. I know everyone's saying regular season doesn't matter, but a win is a win. Tom, what do you got?
So I think for me, this game it's a barometer of a couple things. One, obviously you're going against the Chiefs, but you're not getting them at their full strength, just like you're not getting us, right? They don't have Charles Omenihu. They're going to be getting Pacheco back soon. They don't have Butker, who is a huge weapon for them on that team. And in all reality, I think the biggest thing for us right now is this is an opportunity to get higher in the seedings, right? Because you never know how the playoffs are going to go. The Chiefs, even though they are 9-0, are probably the weakest 9-0 team you've seen. Last week, they should have lost on a really goofy kick, and things happen. So in my perspective, I think this is one of those moments that you can at least put yourself in the driver's seat for if the Chiefs were to lose, you got that go-ahead moving forward. I think any little bit, any win helps you moving, right? You're 5-0 right now. You're moving 6-0. Going into your bye week, we're going to get healthy. You're going to get Keon Coleman back, Dalton Kincaid. You're going to get Matt Milano back likely against the 49ers. Every way you could stack a win heading into the postseason is going to help your team in momentum. So a win against a team like the Chiefs, a team who has been the dynasty of dynasties as of late, it has to help you. I'm going to say probably 6 or 7, just like you, Monster.
I think you were muted. I'll go. I don't think it really impacts if we'll win a Super Bowl. Playoff football is just a completely different game than regular season. I don't think you could say the Bills come out on top today that, oh, we're going to win the Super Bowl. It's just not the case to me. Does it help? Obviously. I think it's a huge confidence boost going into the bye. Nice ruler test to us playing them at home. But we've beaten them in the regular season before. When we see them in the playoffs, we can't get it done. So, I don't think it really has a huge bearing on us winning a Super Bowl per se.
And I'll go. Yeah, sorry, my Spectrum Wi-Fi went down for about 5 minutes.
Welcome back.
So, welcome back. Yeah, I mean, I think this is. It's funny how narratives, are formed because you look back at the last few years, and I think if the Bills won one playoff game against the Chiefs in the two times they've played, I think Bills fans and the national perspective would be a little different because I think it's Bills Chiefs at the end of the day that these are two successful franchises, two powerhouses, and I think it would be more of a big game in terms of that because of the Bills regular season success, but the playoff failures, I think again it's kind of like, okay, well I don't want to get too excited, so I'm just going to kind of whatever happens. That's the outcome. In terms of the scale, where does this game move that? I mean, I don't know if it really moves it at all. Right now it's November 17th. And I think you can build confidence, like Dad Chef said and about that. But I just think, look, at the end of the day, it's Bills Chiefs. You get them at home. It's still a big game. The Bills, if they win, they could put themselves on a solid track for that 1 seed. But again, at the end of the day, it's November 17th. And I think that, they got to get it done in January when it matters. And you got to, and it could start today. Maybe that'll help you, get there with a win and get some confidence over the Chiefs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, there were good points across the board. It moves your confidence a little, but ultimately it doesn't get you closer to a playoff win. My thinking is that right now they're at 8.5 to 1, 9 to 1, 7.5 to 1, wherever you look, depending to win the Super Bowl. I think that with a win today, that could get below 6, 5.5 to 1. So I just think there's an opportunity for that to move based on the game as well. Mathematical odds as well. All kinds of shit moving all over the place. With that said, moving all over the place, why don't we go reverse order around the horn here? We can start out with AJ, get to Justin, and then Thomas. Obviously, we've seen these teams match up a number of times. There's a lot of familiarity with these two organizations. So with that said, there's rarely something that surprises the other organization or the other coaching staff. But what do you see potentially being a wild card for today in this Bills-Chiefs matchup?
I'll go with both teams score under 23 points. I think this is going to be a defensive battle. I think the Bills come into this one, and both teams are going to want to control the ball, right? Control the clock, get these long sustained drives. Chiefs and Bills are both really good at doing that with Mahomes and Allen, especially the way Allen's played this year, more decisive, more on time, more about the timing of plays instead of just kind of the Ken Dorsey style where it was not chuck it and go, but he's just more in a rhythm, and you can tell he's more in a system with Joe Brady, and it's more constructed. But again, with the Bills' injuries on the offensive side of the ball, it'll be tough against this Chiefs defense. Karlaftis coming into this one, and Chris Jones have combined for 7 sacks. They've been all over the place. Justin Reed's playing out of his mind. Obviously, Nick Bolton's a player to watch there as well. And then Trent McDuffie, one of the best corners in the league. But then on the Bills side of things, I think this Bills defense can also have success against this Chiefs offense. So I'm going to go with both teams will score under 23 points. I think it's going to be a low-scoring November, actually a beautiful day, battle in Orchard Park.
Yeah, I guess my wild card today would be, Kincaid's out, so it'd be great to see Knox step up a bit. I truly believe the formula for a championship football team is an elite quarterback, an elite tight end. If you look at Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey, it just speaks for itself. I'm just waiting for Kincaid to take that step. But Knox filling in today, I think, he'd be a huge wild card for me to win this game.
Tommy, what do you got for us?
Yeah. So for the two, I'm going to say for the Chiefs, I think what is Spencer Schrader, their kicker, a guy who when Greg Zuerlein went down for the Jets, they had 2 guys on the practice squad. They went with a different guy and called him up, and Spencer Schrader did not get activated. So what is he? Because that's a huge deciding factor. Butker, like I said, is a massive piece to this team. In fact, 7 of their games so far this season have been 7 points or less. So if it comes down to it and you are down in distance is in question, do they go for it on 4th down because of the fact that they don't trust a guy like Spencer Schrader, where in a moment they might trust a Harrison Butker? And that's where that defense is good. The Bills have shown many times they stymied the Colts on a couple 4th down plays and, got an extra possession out of it. So that's going to be a big one, a big question mark or surprise or wild card. And then for the Bills, I think it's just, what is Amari Cooper right now? Somebody mentioned to me on Twitter, they said their biggest worry is when he goes to fall, how does he brace himself with that wrist? So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Can he be effective? I think if he's effective, I think everything opens back up again. Because Matt Collins on the other side, you've seen in spurts, is effective for this team. And then you got Shakir and Knox in the middle, and I think you'd be absolutely fine in that moment. So if Amari Cooper can be what we expect him to be today, and he's healthy-ish or enough, I think that's a massive wild card in this game.
Gotta love what you've seen from Matt Collins the last couple weeks for sure. It felt like he was in the ultimate doghouse 2 to 3 weeks ago, but obviously I think 9 catches on 9 targets the last 2 weeks. So fans have changed their tune for sure. Going into it for me, the wild card for both these teams is the starts for these games. I mean, these teams have been living from behind almost all season in the first half, and neither have really worried about it, right? Because they know that they're strong in the second half. They know they can make adjustments, and they know they ultimately have a quarterback who can fuel a second half comeback. So I'm very interested to see if the Bills can get out to I know this sounds crazy, like a 10-0 lead or even just any type of 2-possession lead. We'll be very interested to see what happens to this Chiefs team against this Bills defense. Speaking of other opponents, not talking about the refs, but we got the weather report real quick. Looks like it should be pretty normal in Orchard Park today. It was looking like it could get a little colder yesterday. It was looking like it might not get above 50. But today's projections got it right about 50 to 53 around kickoff. And then you get into, it might be high 40s and everything, but it doesn't look like rain will be a factor. The wind is 5 to 8 miles per hour, but I did see that there could be some 10 to 20 mile per hour gusts. Orchard Park does always get a little sketchy. I don't need any more gusts in my Bills Chiefs matchup. I need Gus Johnson, not gusts of wind. With that said, ultimately going into it, obviously, you guys have talked about what you're expecting to see. You've talked about what the difference could be. Now we got to talk about some betting. We got any props, parlays, anything we might want to lay today? Obviously, Dawson Knox has had a lot of success in this Bills-Chiefs matchup. And the other thing for me, I mean, what are those Zach Davidson odds? Come on, boys. Someone got to lay something on me. Dad, Chef, you cooking anything up over there?
I don't know. I haven't even looked at prop bets, but the spread's what? -2. I definitely think Bills -2 is a safe bet for me. I think it definitely is a field goal game. I don't think it'll be a huge score difference when it comes down to it. But yeah, I don't really know any prop bets, but I think it'll be a huge defensive battle. I think the over-under is 46 right now. I would probably lean towards the under personally.
Yep, got to follow Sobolski's on that. I think when they're matching up these two teams and they're saying it's going to be an average of 23 or less points, Vegas is kind of signaling there. Just like Vegas is kind of signaling, I know the Bills Chiefs have their own Rolodex of matches ups at this point, but an undefeated team being an underdog this late into the season, that's got to be kind of like a little signal there too, right, AJ?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I'm trying to find Zach Davidson right now for touchdown score prop, but I cannot find it.
So I'm telling you right now, I've been looking, and like they seem to think that like Jalen Virgil, exists more than Zach Davidson today. They got Jalen Virgil at 17-1 anytime. I'm telling you, there's a good chance you could probably get Zach Davidson at about 15 to 20-1 just to score a touchdown. And I don't care what you say, he will be in at some goal line set along the day.
Right. Yeah. So I would probably go. I like Cook over rushing, whatever his line is, and also Hunt. Both running backs are gonna hit their overs. Those are my parlay predictions there.
Okay, I see Tommy cooking up something over there. Let me see one that I like as well. I don't know. It just seems like this matchup. I like the rushing attack idea that you're at, AJ. I like Ty Johnson to find the end zone in this one. We got plus 800 for Ty Johnson. Maybe a little. One of those quick option routes out of the backfield or something like that. it's been tough for Josh and these wide receivers in these KC matchups. From what I can tell and what I can look at recently, might want to attack through the running backs and tight ends as well. Tommy, you got anything for us?
Yeah, a couple, like if you want to stack and make some quick parlays, James Cook and Dawson Knox, their over-under on receptions is 2.5. I would bang the over on both of them. I expect James Cook to be utilized early and often this game. And obviously with Dalton Kincaid not in, you've seen Dawson Knox's numbers have slowly matriculated in the right direction. So I think both of those you could probably hammer home and think that they're going to get, I think 3 receptions is not crazy to think.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Not very
I
exciting.
think there's a lot of No, I get it. There's a lot of opportunities across the board. And speaking of opportunities, here comes a man who doesn't need a window to take advantage of an opportunity. Riverboat Dan Mitchell, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Picasso's pregame show. We're talking props. We're talking predictions. We're talking wild cards. What do you got for this Bills-Chiefs matchup?
So what is going on, man? Probably another heart attack. I'm actually thinking about having a conversation with a physician, see if I can get some blood pressure medication coming, because that's exactly what we're going to be anticipating. It's just another one of those Bills and Chiefs games, man. I'm really looking forward to it.
With that said, I'm going to put you to the fire here because everyone's gone in. Do you have either a favorite bet for today, or do you have maybe like a wild card in this matchup? We were talking, both these teams stink in the first half. So if one of them gets out to a lead in the first half, that could be something. I believe AJ went with under 46 as a lock. What do we got, Dan?
So wherever the lines are specifically for Kareem Hunt or the running game over in Kansas City, I think the Buffalo Bills are going to have an opportunity of being able to commit to the run for the entire game. I think the Buffalo Bills really love their matchups from the DB and the wide receiver perspectives. Like, I love Benford against DeAndre Hopkins. I love Rasul Douglas against Xavier Worthy or Smith-Schuster. I absolutely love Taron Johnson against Watson. I think that with those sort of matchups, I think now the Buffalo Bills are going to be able to put together a game plan that was very similar to the Seattle Seahawks, where we ended up holding Kenneth Walker III to one of his worst games out of the season. I really think that Kareem Hunt in that run game in Kansas City, I would smash the under on almost every single prop there.
I like that. So obviously, I think it is going to be a slugfest, like you guys are kind of alluding to. Seems like both sides are kind of chomping at the bit to get against these offensive lines. So ultimately, what defensive line has more success on the day, do you think? Is it that Bills unit with Rousseau against potentially a susceptible Chiefs unit? Or is it the Chiefs' Chris Jones, who's obviously dictated the pace in the pass against this unit and obviously caused some trouble? This Bills O-line is going in with a lot of moxie, though. Anyone have any thoughts on the trench matchup for this one?
Well, for the Chiefs themselves, they have had with Kingsley, I'm going to butcher his last name. Their left tackle has back and forth been in and out of the lineup. That's absolutely something you want to attack all day long. Greg Rousseau's, had really a terrific year so far, not only setting the edge, but providing presence. He was the reason we had that fumble last week against Flacco. So you're seeing kind of a bit of a boost there. Von Miller, even though he doesn't pop up on the stat sheets and people are still a little weary about him, actually had the third highest pressure rate in the NFL last week. So he's slowly getting to where he needs to be. I think you're just seeing little parts and pieces. And I think that Chiefs offensive line on the outside is where you're going to be able to hit them with Jawan Taylor and Kingsley. In the middle, that's where you're going to struggle. It's one of, if not the best, inside offensive lines with, their guards in their center. Creed Humphrey is possibly the best center in the NFL. So that's going to be a struggle, and especially because our interior defensive line is not supremely talented so far to start the season. But on the other side of the ball, like you said, you got Chris Jones, you got George Karlaftis, you've got a lot of talent. Now it just comes down to, can this offensive line for the Bills continue doing what it does very, very well? And I think you're going to probably see maybe this week a little bit more motion to what Joe Brady did, just to get Josh Allen not just sitting in the pocket and trying to move him around so that Chris Jones can't just, crash down on that pocket and hem everything in. So
see, one thing when it comes into that offensive line as well, and this is something that has been causing a lot of frustration, but I feel like it's been brushed under the rug since the Buffalo Bills are 8-2 at this point, is all of our pre-snap penalties, specifically false starts when it comes into it. Lan Clark, who is the referee, he absolutely loves throwing flags for false starts, defensive holdings, which is another conversation we can have. But Dawkins and Spencer Brown have been absolute liabilities there. Now we're also going to be looking at the Kansas City Chiefs, which are the lowest team in the NFL for pre-snap penalties by itself. So I trust the Buffalo Bills in pass protection, but really have to keep an eye out, and we have to pray to the ever-loving football gods that we can try and limit as many of those penalties as much as humanly possible, because we got a guy out there that's really damn stingy about it.
Yeah, obviously can't give them any extra opportunities. And I wanted to touch on this note because I forgive me who brought it up. I think it was you, TDL. But the Schrader note. Could we be looking at an opportunity where, basically anywhere in no man's land is 4-down territory for Mahomes and co today? I mean, because that's danger. That's a dangerous thought to me, giving them another opportunity. But they are typically aggressive. But just occurring to me now, we might be looking at a 4-down offense in between the 30s from the Chiefs.
Well, I'll say this much. They are the number one team, which at 9-0 and 9 weeks in, they have a 50% clip on third down, which is absurd, quite frankly, at this point in the season. So you're going to have to keep them well behind the sticks from the first 2 downs. You're going to have to, the onus is going to be shortening, and making sure that you are staying on top of them, because no matter what, they're converting third down. So that fourth down, more than likely, if they are at fourth down at all, is probably going to be from under 3 yards. And if Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, especially because Patrick Mahomes seems to be calling the shots more than not, they're going to go for it. And especially if they don't trust. You don't want to give Josh Allen any more possessions that you have. You don't want to, it's one of those games, like we've said this before, between the two of them. You have to be perfect. And any extra possessions for the other side of the ball is just it's a spell, it's a recipe for disaster in this moment.
Seriously. Any final thoughts here before we get into predictions?
Yeah, I'll add some. I think the execution from the Bills late in this one is going to come, right back to the front of the table. I think the Bills need to execute on the field as players and as a coaching staff. There's been a couple of blunders, a couple of bad luck plays, but you've had so many opportunities to beat this Chiefs team, and it's come down to a couple things. 13-second game, obviously. Then last year in the playoffs, Dawkins gets bumped into Josh. He had Shakir on a dig route in the end zone, and doesn't hit it. And then Tyler Bass obviously goes on to miss the field goal there. Regardless, Chiefs get the ball back at that point. So it's going to come down to executing, and you got to be perfect against this Chiefs team. This Chiefs team lives on capitalizing off mistakes, and they're very opportune. You see it last week. They're kind of dead in the water, and then they beat Denver on that last second field goal block. And you also look at that also hurt Denver's playoff chances as well, which could allow Cincy to sneak in. So on top of KC remaining undefeated, I think it gives the Bengals a better chance to sneak in there. So they're just they just find ways to win, and you're just going to have to play your best ball in the fourth quarter to get this one done. And that execution from the coaching staff and players will be tested yet again.
Mm-hmm.
I've been pretty bullish in my confidence for this week, and I will spoil my prediction that by the time it gets back to me, I'll be predicting a double-digit win. But
nice,
the Chiefs are absolutely an Undertaker opponent, where it's like even if you were up 2 scores in the second half, like they could get up and choke slam you and put you in a fiery casket at any point. So you need to be aware. With that said, let's get into predictions here as we roll on the Picasso's pregame show. Dan, you want to lead us off, and we'll go around the horn here with AJ and Dad Chef?
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, as much as I want to say that this Buffalo Bills team is going to go out there and put up something like 41-10, like where we see Patrick Mahomes bitching on the sideline, we pan over to Taylor Swift in her private box. She's bawling her eyes out based off of pure disappointment of how her boyfriend's team ended up performing. Unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. I think it's always been, as it always will be, this is going to be a 1-point game. I think this is going to be decided by a field goal. Ultimately, whoever ends up having final possession. But I mean, really, at the end of the day, this Chiefs team's defense does have some weaknesses. Outside of Trent McDuffie, linebackers and safeties struggle tremendously when it comes into pass coverage. They struggle tremendously against guarding tight ends. It sucks Kincaid's not going to be out there, but we still have the forgotten piece to this offense, and that, of course, is Dawson Knox. I say that we need to attack everything underneath, specifically attacking Bolton, Tranquil, and even testing it further down the seam against the safeties. this can get done. I don't see a massive game from our running backs, as much as I would love to see a complete shift around and a repeat of what we saw from the Dallas Cowboys last game, because we were hearing that all leading up to that game, that we can't run against this team, but James Cook goes off and has himself a day. I don't see these swing passes or screen game working a lot. It's going to have to be Josh's arm here. Give me 28-27 Bills. Yet another heart attack game.
I'm going to pick the Chiefs in this one. I think I've picked the Bills in 7 of the 10 games so far, or maybe 8. But I'm going to pick the Chiefs in this one, 20-17. I think the Bills' injuries with Coleman and Kincaid offensively is going to really hurt them. And I think the battle of the trenches is going to be huge. And I'm not saying that the Bills can't win it or won't win it. I think this Bills offensive line's played tremendously this year and really well. I think Spencer Brown may be out in this one, so that right tackle will be tested. Maybe Ryan Vandermark. I don't know who Richard Garage was called up from the practice squad, so I don't know what the plans are there. But then you look defensively, and I think this Bills team can also have success. So I'm going to have a low-scoring game, but I think the Chiefs sneak it out, get it done, and the Bills move to 8-3 and head into a bye, and you get San Fran off the bye, and hopefully, the Bills are really good off a bye, so hopefully you can get back on the winning carousel there. And again, I think the 1 seed's also at play here, of course, with the Chiefs, still being undefeated. If you beat them today, you can, sneak up on them. But at the end of the day, man, like if they're the 2 and 3 seed, just don't be the 4 seed. If you're the 2-3 seed, whoever you play, get it done, and you got to figure it out from there. If you play your best football, the Bills can beat anybody in the league. So we'll see what they can do today and moving forward.
Yeah, I'll go with 17-14 Bills. Like I said, I feel like it's going to be a super low-scoring game. That's why I love that under. I think Bass just, slowly getting that confidence back. He's a huge key to us being successful against these teams because they will be such a tight scoring games. So I think it's 17-14. And just quickly, I totally agree on the sentiment with the flags. As a football fan, man, it's just incredibly frustrating. It feels like every play there's a flag thrown. It is absolutely ridiculous. I hope they let them play today.
So Seattle's game, I want to say that we had to come back from 120 yards worth of yards that came from flags by itself, but it was completely mass since we blew them out. I hope this isn't the case, because this is not that team.
So I'm right there with you guys. I've been stuck between 21-17 and 24-20. And I want to say Buffalo, but like AJ said, I could see it going either way in this one. I think it being home is a huge advantage for us. The crowd should be fired up. It's a great day weather-wise. The wind being in our favor, Tyler's kicked there a bunch. He's been very successful. He's 9 out of his last 9 in his kicks. So he's done really, really good. And even that 61-yarder had a little bit of wind going around. And he piped that thing. So I think the Bills have a bit of an advantage. I think the running game is going to be good. I think I will probably see a good dose of Ray Davis today. His vision has been terrific so far, and he's only getting better. So I'm going to say 24-20, and I'm going to say it's 24-17 late, and the Chiefs kick the field goal, and then try to get an onside kick, and the Bills recover to win.
Damn. So you're muted, Zach.
Not mute monstering with my authority. I like the school of thought. It is going to be a 1-score game late. Bills are going to be up 24-16. There will be a big play made by somebody. Bills will get the field goal. They'll ultimately win 27-16. I feel like I'm losing my wits, boys. I feel like we are going crazy. We are just under, we're just under 7 hours away from kickoff. With that said, we got a special guest in here at the tail end here of the Picasso's pregame show, Mr. Joe Miller.
What's
right,
going
so
on, everybody?
Said,
Joe,
you're in here. Oh no! By the way, Joe was wearing his Superman cape this morning, helping people out. So kudos to him. Thank you for even making the time. With that said, it's never too late to tell us your wild card for today and ultimately your score prediction and how the Bills are going to get this done.
So that's all loaded information. And I was in the truck and I was listening to all you guys talk as far as that go. Wild card information or wild card for the day is a tough one because I don't know that the Bills Chiefs games are overly predictable in the sense of what we think is going to happen always ends up happening. It's gone from crazy offense and like kind of rolled its way down into defensive struggles or defensive battles, I would say. My wild card pick would maybe be that we're not going to run an awful fake field goal in this game. That's a joke. But at least I hope we don't do that again. Wild card for the day. I would expect to see us I'm going to go 2 interceptions on Pat Mahomes today. So that's going to be the wild card pick that I have. Now, who they're going to be, I'll leave that up to you guys as far as that goes. If you want to guess whether it's Benford or Taron Johnson or somebody like that. But I think there's going to be 2 interceptions on Pat Mahomes today. Score prediction for me, I'm with everybody on the panel. I think it's going to be a low-scoring football game. I'm probably, Thomas, I think, was struggling between 24 and 21. On the Hump Day Hotline, I think I was in that space, like 24 to 21. The under, I think Tom was talking about the under, or somebody was talking about the under. I think the under is a good call here. It's probably going to be in that 22 to like 17 range as far as that goes. But at the end of the day, this game for me is about stacking the wins. You just got to stack this win. I know that we all want to beat the Chiefs. Dan talked about blood pressure and like needing medication, and we're going to get drawn into this football game because that's what we do as Bills Mafia. We get drawn in and like the whole world rests on whether or not we win or lose this game and what the media is going to think of us tomorrow. But at the end of the day, the win is important because if we lose, that puts the Ravens in they've got the one up on us in the sense of from a loss column for the 2 seed. So for me, stack the win. I don't care if it's the Chiefs. I don't care who it is. Go in and win this game because you need the win for the 1 or 2 seed. That's the one thing that McDermott and Allen have not done in the 4 years that they've been kind of pushing for the Super Bowl. Let's get a first round bye in the playoffs in this game or this season rather. So shoot for the win. Just get the win. Whatever you got to do to stack it. That's right.
And even if you don't ultimately get the traditional bye, locking up division and your seeding for week 18 is potentially as important for rest and everything. With that said, by the way, shout out everyone on here for taking their time and doing their part here on the Picasso's pregame show. They all have their own shows. They're all, doing their own amazing things. Hump Day Hotline. We got Real Dan with his platforms and everything over there. We got AJ Cebulski dominating Batavia Downs. We got Dad Chef dominating the culinary picture. And of course, Tommy D, The Charge, and Buffalo Sports Podcast. Thank you all for joining us, obviously. Now, with that said, before we go, would you take a 5-3 win?
Hell yeah.
I'll take a win.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page, and that is for certain.
I'll take a 4-3 win.
Okay, let's go.
Let's
mix it up for sure. But we know points will be at a premium. Thank you for spending your premium time here with us on the Picasso's pregame show. It's 3 simple words. Let's go, Bills.